Memory cards. It's mad to think about them in an era of cloud storage and multi-terabyte hard drives, but this little 8 megabyte wonder was the cornerstone of my earliest days of gaming. It had to carry the burden of every single one of my save files. Without it, there simply wouldn't be any hope of me seeing the end credits of what I was playing. Unless, of course, I dedicated an entire day to a game and left the console on overnight praying to whoever would listen that the electricity doesn't cut out. You see, I never owned more than one memory card, as they were incredibly expensive at the time and my parents didn't quite understand why I needed one, never mind two. So, oftentimes, given my one sole memory card's limited storage capacity, difficult decisions had to be made. Striking a balance between the untouchable, almost legendary 100% complete save files and the brand spanking new games was an ordeal for the child version of me. Particularly when a game came along with an absolutely absurd save file size. I'm looking at you, Smackdown, just brain it. Your 4 megabyte save file size being a rather memorable thorn in my arse. The perilous conundrum of deciding which save files were to be preserved and which were to be erased is something totally unrelatable to younger gamers these days. But maybe something has been lost in the era of abundant storage capacity. No, fuck memory cards. Fuck them. Look, I'm all for looking back on things wearing my finest pair of rose-tinted glasses, something many of you who've watched my videos for a while are all too familiar with, but in this case, seriously, fuck memory cards. I'm delighted they've been confined to the waste bin of history, and that younger generations have been spared the hardships of taking part in save file based bloodbaths just to have enough space to save their damn progress. After all, save files are precious little things that encapsulate everything about your experience with a game. All the work you put in, all of the cool shit you've unlocked, your top level character that is the master of every single guild in the world, and all of the juicy bonuses you spent hours grinding just to get. Being forced to play God with these save files was not cool, man. It just wasn't cool. And even my finest pair of rose-tinted glasses make me see nothing but a giant turd when I look at that one memory card that got me through the PS2 generation. Let me list some heinous moments from my childhood that came about purely because I had to rely on memory cards. Number 1. They were both indestructible and devastatingly delicate. Memory cards were robust little creatures that could survive falling off a cliff, but for whatever reason, if a speck of dust got in the wrong place, the whole thing might decide to corrupt every single one of your save files. There was absolutely no rhyme or reason to when a memory card decided that a particular emotion was but a flesh wound, or an honest to God flesh wound. For example, dropping the memory card on the floor by accident, completely fine. That one time I threw the card onto my bed after coming home from a friend's house, congratulations, you've just lost all your save files. Maybe the card knew I intended to throw it down that time and took offense. Number 2. 8 megabyte storage capacity. Honestly, to go back to an 8 megabyte save file capacity is the stuff of nightmares. I know larger sizes would become available, but as I said earlier, I was stuck with 8 megabytes on account of my inability to convince my parents that I needed another one. Plus, it's not as if the west of Ireland during the 90s was a hub for off-brand alternatives. The 8 megabyte memory card was the only version I ever saw in shops, and it was ludicrously expensive and rarely in stock at the time. So yeah, I was stuck with 8 megabytes. Number 3. Leaving them at your friend's house. The handy thing about memory cards was that every PS2 case came with a nifty little memory card holder for you to slot your memory card into and take it with you wherever you went. And getting your save file onto your friend's PlayStation was as easy as just sticking in your memory card. There was no faffing around with account activations or PSNs or any of that malarkey. It was good to go. I loved that I could export my manager mode team in FIFA onto my card and pit my team against my friend's team from his manager mode in a competition for the ultimate bragging rights to who was the better virtual manager. I love being able to use my creative wrestler in the SmackDown games to beat the shite out of my cousin's creative wrestler for a prestigious belt that we created, the Legends belt. The winner of those matches would also lock the belt to their memory card, making each title match super competitive as neither one of us wanted to lose a belt with maxed out prestige. But when all that was done and we had our fill of friendly or not so friendly competition, the amount of times I forgot to remove my memory card from their PlayStation before I went home was somewhat ridiculous. I'd often only realise when I was almost home, which created a hell of a predicament. Do I dare run back to their house to get my card back? Or do I risk coming home late and being grounded, at least safe in the knowledge that I can at least play some games and still have access to my save files? Sometimes turning back wasn't even an option, as I once left my memory card in my cousin's house, the cousin that happens to live on the other side of the fucking island of Ireland. Cue a week-long drought of gaming, with me constantly concerning myself with thoughts of my cousin saving over my precious save files or posting me the wrong memory card. I'm telling you, tough times. Number 4. Seriously, 8 megabytes. Number 5. Your friend wiping over your progress. This was a very, very real problem. As I just mentioned, I had fears that my cousin would partake in this absolute monumental example of being a dick when I left my memory card at his house accidentally. You see, back in the day, there was no security blanket in the form of cloud storage or USB backups to pull your save file back from a momentary lapse in concentration, or to protect you from your friend taking it upon themselves to win Dickhead of the Year and overwrite your save when starting a new game. This sort of infuriating shite broke friendships apart, sparking countless revenge delete cycles and ultimately a fight in the field. What can I say, it's how we resolved all our issues back then. One particularly harsh override I recall came courtesy of my mum's friend's small random child, who decided to turn on my vacated PS2 while I was away. I came home to find he'd started a new game in Beyond Good and Evil, a game that I had rented for the weekend using the money I had so absolutely earned from mowing the lawn. I was pretty close to the end, but the little bastard had erased my progress for the sake of messing around in the game for 5 minutes, before, predictably, getting bored. The game was due back later that evening, so suffice to say I didn't have time to claw back my progress in time to return it. I did have enough time to imagine throwing that little prick out the window though. It would be 10 years before I'd eventually see the end of Beyond Good and Evil. I played it on the PS3 just to be safe in case I come home and find another random child using my save files as toys. The little fuckers. Number 6. The little game icons were pretty cool. Okay, look, it wasn't all bad. I love the fact that each game had its own little unique icon on your memory card whenever you flick through your save files. I always loved Silent Hill 3's mad, terrifying running bunny, Manhunt's creepy little smiley face, and the fact that each icon would have a unique animation for when you tried to delete it. For example, Jak and Daxter would show Jak trying to run away, or certain games would have characters just shake their head in disappointment as you went to delete them. If there was to be one thing that I would carry over from the era of memory cards, it would be these kind of neat little save file animations and artwork. I think they were just cool, you know? But 8 fucking megabytes! So, to my beautiful memory cards that carried my progress across 2 generations of gaming and allowed me to experience a wealth of amazing games from start to finish, thank you. None of it would have been possible without you, which is pretty much the reason I am delighted to leave you in the past. I can't go back to relying on an expensive, temperamental, easily losable stick to carry the weight of my gaming save files on its tiny 8 megabyte shoulders. I've moved on and I can't go back. I'm sure you understand. But now, old buddy, it's time to rest. And with all the love in the world, I say to you, don't even think about coming back. Thanks for watching.